Good morning, Oklahoma, and welcome to Cow-Calf Corner. I'm Mark Johnson, and this week's topic is basically the question of retained ownership for commercial cow-calf operations. Prices are robust right now. My colleague Daryl Peel talks about anticipating a 4-3-2 price structure, meaning wean calves are going to be worth $4 a pound at some point in the future, yearlings $3 a pound, and fed cattle worth $2 a pound. We're starting to knock on the door of some of those prices right now if you look at the most recent market report from last week in Oklahoma. So we also see information coming in that indicates all segments of beef production, meaning the cow-calf sector, the stocker yearling sector, and the finishing sector, are all going to finish 2023 at profitable margins. Very seldom does that happen. So it brings us to that question. If we're a commercial cow-calf operation, we're getting ready to wean those spring-born calves. Even though we know prices are good, should we potentially retain ownership, turn them into yearlings, maybe retain ownership all the way through finishing and sell fed cattle to capture that additional profit potential that exists in those calves at some point down the road? Can our cash flow withstand taking that current crop of calves, turning them into another product and knowing they're going to literally be marketed in a future marketing year? As opposed to cashing those in the fall of 23, we're looking at yearlings sold in the spring of 24, fed cattle sold at some point later in the year of 2024. So from a standpoint of our finances, does that economic model work for us? Second thing we need to ask is, what do we know about the post-weaning performance of the calves we're raising? Have we collected data in the past? Do we know information about what they're gaining, what those cost of gains are? If we're looking all the way through finishing, what are the carcass weights, dressing percentages, quality grades, yield grades? Do we have a set of calves on inventory right now that are going to do extremely well on a carcass value system if we turn those into fed cattle at some point to market later? Without that information, it's kind of a shot in the dark. Another question, is our cow-calf operation set up to have a wheat base? Can we grow the cool season grass we need to turn those spring calves out and actually turn them into yearlings? If not that, are we willing, does our management permit us to actually be hand feeding a growing ration to those calves every day to turn them into yearlings? Are we capable and interested in providing that level of management during that high stress period post-weaning when calves actually go out on cool season grass? Another component to this, are we comfortable turning over the management of our calf crop to somebody else? Very few cow-calf operations can actually run a finishing operation. The cattle finishing segment is a very specialized segment of beef production. So we're not going to have those cattle on our own inventory at our farm or ranch. We know they're going to be somewhere else whenever that's taking place. Are we comfortable with that? Final consideration here is, how big a group of calves do we actually have? And if we're going to do something like retain ownership through finishing, are we looking at a semi-load lot somewhere in the ballpark of 50,000 pounds of calves that make that transportation cost to a commercial cattle finisher economical? If we're looking at doing this for 15 to 20 head of calves, it's probably not as practical to actually get them shipped. So you're making a financial decision. You're taking a look at things to see whether or not they look like there's additional money to capture by holding on to those calves and literally retaining ownership. Answer several of these other questions for your own unique operation to help make that decision. As always, thanks for joining us this week.